You are lucky to live in America. Well, yeah, I am pretty darn lucky to live in America. I'm not lucky to live under the United States of America. I'm lucky to live on the land that I love. I love this land. I love America. I have no doubt about it. I love pretty much everywhere in nature, actually. But yeah, I love the whole world, and I don't just love one nation of some borders and some states that are called certain things. But I respect the tradition. I respect the ancestry. I think that's all beautiful, and we shouldn't, worry about any of that and necessarily. But we do have concerns, perhaps, about slavery, about the tyranny that we have today. I mean, it's not only like the Constitution, which was created to limit government, only expanded it further, like a lot of founding fathers said, although they were censored. It's not like our founding fathers killed police and killed whoever in the British Crown in order to free themselves and were extreme and outrageous in order to do so. No, it's not like they used natural law and natural rights as their main conception to say that, well, this government that we have is illegitimate, so we need to create some other system. We don't know what it is, but something that basically ensures more of our freedoms. And, it's not like they experimented because they're humans and tried to find a system that would maybe work based on their knowledge, not knowing entirely if it will work because they warned about it in their quotes. I'm using sarcasm on purpose because all those things I said are basically true. The founding fathers, countless times throughout their writings, talked about how America could be corrupted if we turn away our monetary system to the Federal Reserve, for example. If we start taking away the gold and silver from the people, if we start having police being in control of everything in a technocratic state, they saw all of it coming. And so it's interesting how they thought they created this perfect empire, at least a lot of constitutionalists and Americanism people today think that these people were perfect and that God essentially created the country, even though man is not God and being authority over man and also having slaves much of the time. Oh, I guess we'll just ignore all that. And of course, you can make examples and you can say, well, the founding fathers, they were fighting slavery, they just couldn't get rid of it at the time. Okay, so be it. But let's look at this. You say, I'm lucky to live in America. Well, I'd say you're lucky that they actually fought against their own government and said, well, this entire government is wrong. Let's change it. Let's abolish it. I mean, it does say in our Declaration of Independence that people have the right to alter or abolish it. Alter or abolish? Well, wait. They're not the same, are they? Alter means they change it. Abolish means they get rid of it. So just because I talk about abolishing it, even though the Founding Fathers talked about it, somehow makes me extreme, radical, and, apparently lucky to live in America. Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky to be alive. I'm lucky to have a good family. I'm lucky to have fun. I'm lucky to live my life. I'm lucky for a billion stinking things, and you are too, to talk to me and to share your ideas and to have fun. I mean, my gosh, we're lucky for a lot of things, and not just that. We're looking at the human qualities. Why should we look at some titled country when there's been billions of countries over here? Yeah, I'm lucky that a bunch of Native Americans died for some Europeans to come over and enslave them all and kill them all so they can claim some freedom from some system that never needed to exist in the first place. Like, I'm lucky that we freed ourselves when that was necessary in the first place. Do you realize the logic that you are using? Most likely, you don't. Okay, America has always been at war, okay, and any government is basically a monopoly on violence, because who else has the violence? Tell me, why is government not a monopoly on violence? And is not government a higher claim of ownership over the life of over your life and your property than you? Is it not a higher claim of ownership? Is it not claim to say, well, we get to decide what to do with your money, with your taxes, right? Is that not a thing? You're lucky that we had natural rights, natural law, the ideas that I talk about as this extreme individual, because if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have the Declaration of Independence, and you wouldn't have the moral cause for people to free themselves from tyranny, which, we're living in today. We're living in tyranny in America, the United States of America, because we're not human. We strayed away from what created the country, which was human causes, and we turned it into political causes. Very quickly, we turned it now into war, and we have millions of people under a system where we have to vote in for certain people and they get to impose their will on the other people. How is that morally correct? And then we have taxation, which they didn't have back then. We have this big police state, and everybody's spying on each other, and you have other countries influencing. You have the Federal Reserve. That didn't all take place back then. But they were not anarchists. They were not, against government. Of course they were against government. Once they reached the point of against tyranny, they want freedom. They want anarchy. There's only two paths. It's one toward slavery and one towards freedom. One toward government and one toward anarchy. And guess what? Sorry to tell you, but anarchy is on the same path as freedom. And you cannot deny that because it's in its very language. Anarchon means no rulers. It doesn't mean no rules. What was the foundation, again, for the Founding Fathers? Because the people have the right to abolish it. Where did they get this right from? Did they get it from man? Well, if they did, okay, again, slavery, crown, they can do whatever they want. No, they got that right from nature, because it says so in the Declaration of Independence as well. It says from nature's God, to which the laws of nature and God owns. I mean, it literally says it. But boy, have we forgotten all that. And boy, there's no need for education to share these truths. No, not at all. So you're saying I'm lucky to live in America. You're lucky that I'm sharing the moral ideas that ultimately created America. And I'm sorry, but you need to keep up with the times as well, because we need to learn from history and say, well, sorry, the Founding Fathers did a pretty good job, but they failed. And they created the system, but it got corrupted, and it got tyrannical. And who's going to keep it in check? Somebody who just wants to vote for new people in office? No, it's going to be people, everyday people, who morally understand what is a right and what isn't, just as it says in the Declaration of Independence. What is nature's laws? Just as it says in the Declaration of Independence. What is equality? Just as it says. But no, people don't understand this. They get their own conceptions of it. They think everybody already understands it, and therefore we need to just vote in the right people into office. They'll change things for us. Sorry, the work needs to be done, and you can't be lazy about it and say, well, I'm running for office, so I'm doing something. No, you're not. Unlucky for you, because you will not be part of humanity's future, our awakening, the great evolution that is necessary for the moral higher beings. And you say, well, Corey, if you're doing that, good for you, I applaud you, good luck with that, you're not going to get people to do it. Well, if you're going to say that too, then you're pretty darn not helping with me with that. Because guess what? I'm sorry, but it also relies on you. So unlucky for you for your ignorance. I'm sorry, but if you say I'm lucky to live in America, I'm lucky to be a human being and to stand for what nature is, not for what some country, for some banner, for some flag. None of that matters. I use a flag because it's different, just as the American Founding Fathers used a different flag for a different change. You're never going to create change if you're still under the same system. And guess what? It's been done for hundreds of years, and it only became more tyrannical. Do you ever question why? Do you ever question the governments that turned into Nazi Germany, that turned into Soviet Russia? You ever question what they were? Constitutional republics that turned into these mass democide machines that enslaved people? Because I'm sorry, that does not keep morality in check. People keep morality in check. People have morality, unless, of course, they completely write it off with legality and say government is in charge of the morals. Government is in charge of my property, my life, my ownership. That's the problem with the world, and that's why I'm an abolitionist, and that's why I still uphold America, but I don't uphold our government. That's a big distinction to make. I'm lucky to live as a human being, and you are too. I'm lucky to have freedoms, period. But anybody in the world would be lucky to have freedoms, period. It doesn't matter where you come from. Am I lucky for the Founding Fathers? Sure. But I'm also realized that I have responsibilities myself. I'm not very lucky in the fact that I have to keep fighting for what they tried to fight for, because their work is not done. There's more work that needs to be done. Why are we going to sit back and say, well, they did everything that needs to be done, let's just use the system they created? No, it didn't work. We have to do more as a human species. There's more we have to do to create freedom. and that is understanding the full nature of government. Now that we lived 300 years past and dealt with 2 world wars that ended up with hundreds of millions of deaths. There's more to do than what people just think that needs to be done. Because I'm sorry, like I said, we've all been doing legal practices for a long time. And it's not going to actually change things. What's going to change things is people like you and I. I don't mean to stress that more and more, but that's why I'm very unlucky to live in America, is because there's a lot of work to do. But guess what? You're unlucky anywhere you live in the world, because we're all slaves to systems that we did not personally consent to. We didn't consent to it. You know, born into a system, birth certificate, oh, you're owned by somebody else, you're owned by the banks. You don't have your own identity. They make a straw man version of you. All the mail you receive in the mail, all full capital letters, you're a corporation. They make a second you. They own you from your birth. And you're going to say to me that we need to restore America? No, we need to restore nature. That's it. Thank you very much for listening. This is Corey Edmund Angelot. Nature is the answer.